Hello everyone, welcome to our second episode of Web Design Series. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about creating our project directory as well as creating our first web page. Now, before we start with everything, I just want to apologize for the background noise. I just moved to a new apartment recently, and my studio is not properly soundproofed, so just bear with me, and then just focus on my voice and forget about everything else. So just follow along with my tutorials and ignore the background noise. Now, since we're done with that, let's go ahead and create our project directory. So I'll go ahead and save mine in my documents, because that's where I prefer saving everything else. You can save it wherever you want. As you can see in my documents, there's nothing here, so I'll just go ahead and create a new folder now. I'd like to give it as to name it as a Web Design Series, because that's the name of this tutorial, so it kind of makes sense everything having the same name, because that's what we'll be using in these tutorials. Now, the next thing that we need to do is that we need to open up our Atom text editor. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm sure you have noticed that the moment you open your Atom text editor, there's a couple of tabs open along with it. So just close everything else apart from the one that says untitled. And if you just mistakenly closed everything, don't stress. Go to your top left corner here, and then click File, then New File, and you should have a new tab named Untitled. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to save this project. So go ahead and press Ctrl+S on your keyboard. So that's Ctrl+S. Then from there you can just navigate to the project directory that you just created a moment ago. Now this is the most important part, and you need to be very careful the way you name your project name. So let's say, for example, you've got 5 web documents in a project directory, and they're all numbered according to a numerical order from 1 to 5. So when you upload these web pages, your server will try its best to allocate the default page. That's the first page your website opens the moment you go into it. So your server tries its best to try to locate that page, and if your first page is not named according to the traditional name index.html, they need to have issues doing so. So that's why it is advised that you use the traditional name index.html or index.htm. Another example, let's say your server uses your website uses server-side programming, then your name will have to have a different extension. So your name will have be something like index.php or index.asp. So just be careful when it comes to this part here. The other thing that you can do is that you can just contact your server admins and ask them how their server is configured, so that you can give the name your default page the right name. So in my case, I'll name it as index.html. So let's go ahead and save that. And as I'm sure you've noticed that the moment you save it, you've got a project directory open to your left side of your screen as well. Now, this is the more let's go ahead and talk about HTML itself, and how can we use it to make a website. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's what gives the what describes the structure of the web page. Now, this whole structure, it's made up of elements, and these elements are presented by a tag. Now, a tag consists of element names, which is usually an abbreviation of a longer descriptive name. Which is usually enclosed in a opening tag and a closing tag. Now, opening and a closing tag looks like something like this, and it's made up of angle brackets. That's so. Let's go ahead and describe it. That it starts with a less than sign, then greater than sign. Now that's just an opening tag on its own. Now a closing tag. It's almost the same, but the only difference is that closing tag has got a forward slash in it. So let's go ahead and there's less than, then forward slash, then greater than. So this is how a whole tag will look like, with the except it will have something in between them. So it will have an element tag in between them, an abbreviation of an element name in between them. Now, before we do everything with this document as well, we need to give it a declaration. We need to have it. We need to give it a meaning, so that whenever we decide to open with the web browser needs to know that, okay, this is a certain type of document that needs to be handled in a certain way. So in this case, we're gonna use the doc type declaration, and that gives it that tells the web browser that this is a HTML5 and it needs to be handled in a specific way. So let's go ahead and do that. Doc type HTML. Now that we have declared the type of document we're going to be working with in this tutorials, the next thing that follows after this is the root element, and that is the HTML element. And this is the first element. This is the first element that we have an opening and a closing tag, because the doc type, it only does not have any closing tag. So the root element, we have the first opening and a closing tag. So let's go ahead and do that. HTML. Now, the next thing that follows after this, these are the two mandatory elements, two mandatory tags. So the first element, the first tag that comes in between is the head tag, and the head tag is what is the tag. It's the tag that contains your meta tags, your title tags, your links, your style sheet, your JavaScript as well. So let's go ahead and create the head tag. It's a head. Oh, my bad. Head. So this is basically what this head tag is, what contain to contain all your meta tags and your title tags and so on. Now after that, your body tag follows. So it's a body. My bad. Oof. I'm clumsy this day. I'm clumsy today. I don't know what's going on with me. Okay, there we go. Now let me explain what the body tag is. So basically, the body tag is what holds the whole structure of your web page. This is what holds all elements that describes the structure of your web page. Now, that's it for this episode, and in the next episode we're gonna look more. We're gonna focus more into elements and all meta tags and how we can use them to give meaning to our website. So thank you for watching, and goodbye. One more thing that I want to say before I go is that I'll leave the whole description in the comments below. So just go ahead and check everything that you missed in this episode, as I leave the whole description of this tutorials will be in the comment section. So thank you. Hello everyone, welcome